my name is Christian, and I am so excited to be sitting here today because we are on the eve of releasing something that I've been working on for the last 3 years of my life, and that is a girlfriend activation system. This is a step-by-step system. You use it on a girl who you're interested in, and she becomes your girlfriend. It's that simple. It doesn't matter whether it's a girl who you've already kind of screwed things up with and you don't think you have your chance anymore, or whether you're like a lot of guys who just find the dating process to be a tremendous pain in the ass, something that they don't control, full of a bunch of BS. Doesn't matter, because now with this system, it is step-by-step easy. Every guy who I've told about this is just like chomping at the bit and really excited to learn about it. And a few guys who have actually shared it with, their lives have been completely, totally changed. So what are we going to be talking about today? Well, at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you how you can actually get a free copy of the program. And I'm also going to show you a very cool technique that comes right from the program. It's going to get a girl to fixate on you when you first meet her. Obviously, when you meet a girl, you gotta do something to make her interested in you. So I'm going to show you a very small, very significant technique from that. So you want to stick around at the end for those. But I do have to tell you this, you got to know this. This is going to change the game for a long, long time when it gets released, because it tips the power back into the hands of us guys. I mean, most guys, and I know I used to think this way, I think that getting a girlfriend is this long, frustrating, annoying process. It's filled with all this stuff that we don't want to deal with, like learning a ton of attraction techniques, changing into some alpha male douchebag, putting a ton of hard work into it, and just like going out night after night to learn this stuff, and dealing with the dating process that you don't really control, whether it's like on the first date or dealing with text messaging and like, God, is she gonna write back? It's just frustrating. And that's how it is for you if you've bought into what I like to call the big bad lie. And when I tell you about what I discovered in just a second, it's going to completely shatter that lie. But think about it. I mean, millions of guys around the world have been getting girlfriends for a long time without having to turn to master pickup artists. They're not alpha males. They didn't go out 5 nights a week. And those things aren't necessary to end up with an amazing, loyal, dedicated girlfriend. And unfortunately, I actually bought into the big lie too. In fact, I spent most of my 20s living out this sort of rock star social life, because that's what I thought I needed to do. I thought I needed to put all this work into learning my skills and honing my techniques and having this awesome social circle. And I actually sought out and worked for one of the top pickup artists in the world so I could learn from him. And I spent so many years learning this stuff, but the only girls I was actually kind of ending up with were these cheap bar sluts who I'd meet 1:30 in the morning. And I felt like I was being fake. I got into debt going out and just being irresponsible in general, and I drank way too much to deal with my social anxiety. It was just like a lot of work, and ultimately I realized I didn't like the guy who I was becoming. And I looked around and I realized that none of the pickup guys who I was hanging out with were that happy either. And this is when it really struck me. It was like, when I really looked at reality and said, the guys who are the happiest, the guys who have these awesome girlfriends hanging out in their arms, girls who just like love and respect them. And I know myself, I'm deep down, I'm fairly introverted. I never really wanted to like go out and be this master like New York City player. All I really wanted was to have like a hot, fun, intelligent girlfriend. And I didn't want to deal with tests. I didn't want to deal with bullshit. I didn't want to feel like I would be, at a loss when I was dating her. Like, holy crap, like if I don't do this whole thing right now, if I don't have all these amazing attraction skills, she's not going to want me. So I never wanted those things. I just wanted a great girlfriend. So I actually started to look for answers outside the pickup community. And after a lot of false starts, I stumbled upon something that is very, very interesting. It's called literotica. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's kind of like pornography for the female mind. And in fact, this is really crazy. Last year, about as many women bought literotica novels as men subscribed to pornography websites. So you start looking at the statistics like that, I mean, it is a huge industry. And it's bigger than anyone ever expected. I started talking to a few female friends when I learned about it, and they all kind of like nervously admitted to me, they were like, yeah, I definitely read some of that stuff. So it made me wonder, why are women so addicted to this stuff? And what I eventually discovered is that there's this emotional pattern that's built into every woman. It's a story that she tells herself about how she's supposed to fall in love with a guy. And it's not just social, it's literally genetic. It is wired into every woman from birth. And literotica very simply taps into that pattern. There's a very common storyline in every book, and I've read an embarrassing amount of them by now. And whether the guy is just a hulking alpha male or a scrawny beta, whenever he's the main character and he follows this storyline, he always ends up sleeping with and getting the girl. So I started thinking, like, maybe there's like a blueprint or this storyline that I could use to make a girl fall in love. You know, if it's in these stories, and I would just get it out of them and get into the real world, maybe it'll work in real life. And I'm here to tell you now that several years later, I figured it out. I spent a lot of time doing it. It took quite a few years to take it from being just like this simple theory that I put out on a whiteboard to being a system that actually works reliably. But I've personally used it to get my last 3 girlfriends. And the few coaching clients who I've worked with over the last few years, I've taught this to them, and they've all ended up with amazing girlfriends too. Including, and this is my tough case, this is a guy who I was like, not sure if I could take him, like if it doesn't work for him, then I'm really nervous. But he was 36 and he hadn't been in a relationship for a decade. He's been single for 10 damn years. Worked for him, so I was like, I think there's something here. So what is this system? Well, I'm going to reveal it in the next video in this series, exactly how it works. I mean, I've already gone on for a heck of a long time today, and I want to get to this technique. What I can tell you is that the first phase of the system is called impression. It's the impression you make on a woman, right? Obviously, you got to make a good impression when you meet her. And most guys get really hung up here. They hold themselves back. They, run out of things to say. They freeze up, and they just really overcomplicate this. They make it into something that it doesn't need to be. That's definitely something that I spent a lot of time working on. But what I found is there's only 4 things you need to get right in order for that storyline to start kicking in her mind, and for her to start saying, like, okay, this is a guy who I absolutely, definitely need to get to know. That's it. And I'm going to give you one of them right now. Let's actually hop into the other room. I might comb my hair first, and we'll be demonstrating it over there, and we'll come back here shortly. All right, guys, we're joined by the lovely Marina, who you might recognize from some previous videos and a particular YouTube episode on Disneyland. That was a lot of fun. So what we're going to be demonstrating right now is selective attention. And very simply, how it works is that you can ask a girl a question, and as she starts to respond to you, you're going to look at her very intently for just a little bit. And then, as she continues to talk, you're going to let your gaze wander away. And then as she continues to talk, you're going to come back and look at her again. And then you're going to respond to her question. Now, I know, like, this is just like the most simple thing in the world. Like, come on, is that really a technique? But yes, it is, and I'm going to demonstrate it for you in just a second. But here's why it works, okay? When you're looking away from her and she's talking, it's going to make her wonder, what's this guy thinking? And she's going to wonder if she's losing you or if she's boring. She's also going to get the sense that you're not, like, on her like a totally needy guy who's just like got the most massive crush in the world. And finally, the way that you look away is kind of important. If you look away and you're like scanning the room, she's gonna think you're checking out other girls or you're like doing something else. But if you look away down to the right, it's just kind of mysterious. She doesn't know what you're thinking. She can't read you. So as she's talking, she actually starts to get a little bit nervous. And she's going to talk a little bit more, and it's going to fill in this gap in her, or she's going to start having these gaps in her mind that she's going to fill in with these questions. Oh my God, like, am I boring him? Like, what's up with this? And it's basically going to show her that she has to work to keep your attention. So in this way, it's going to make a really, really powerful first impression. And again, you can use this on dates, you can use this at any point in conversations, but I find it works great on first impressions. And I'm betting that a woman has done this to you at some point, where you're talking to her and she starts to look away, and you're like, shit, like, what's going on? Am I losing her? Is she not interested? What's going on with this? So that's what it's all about. We're gonna show it in action. I'm gonna start with a little cold read, and then we're going to jump into one of my favorite questions to ask girls when I'm talking to them and getting to know them at first. So let's do it. We're also gonna make sure that we're positioned like this so you can see my eyes. That's really important. I want you to see what's going on with my eyes as we're talking. So, here we are. So let's say we were just talking, we start off, I might just say something like, you strike me as a really creative person.
I guess you could say that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I am going to say that. So that makes me wonder. And as it's always an interesting question to ask, like, if you could have any extraordinary gift and any artistic talent in the world, whether it be modern dance or amazing acting or what have you, if you could have an extraordinary artistic gift, what would that gift be?
It could be anything.
Well, we're just getting to know each other, so, yeah, anything that's acceptable.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's so many things. But I think I would have to say singing.
Singing. Interesting.
Yeah.
Really? Why singing?
Well, I've never wanted to be a singer, but music is such a big part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to songs when I'm happy, when I'm sad, when I'm excited, when I'm trying to get motivated to work out. So it's really something that touches me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very important in my life. And I think it also touches a lot of other people out there. Sometimes you think that the song is speaking to you and is specifically for you. I think it would be amazing to be able to touch other people like that with your words and your singing.
I know, I was just going to say, there's like so much innuendo in this conversation right now. But no, I totally understand what you're saying. It's like, I was just thinking about it, and like, it's not even something that you have to grab a brush and like, go create. It's just like a part of you. And you can like, even with what we're doing right now, like just using our voices, like you could reach millions of people. And I have some pretty personal relationships with songs in my life. And, it's like, do you connect with the solo? Like not so much. Do you connect with the piano? Maybe a little bit, but it's like, it's always like the words and the lyrics and like, it's a pretty cool answer, I gotta say.
Well, thank you.
I gotta say, you definitely have some passion about music too.
I do. It's definitely something that is in my life every day. So,
cool.
I have my Pandora station on 24/7.
Are you listening to it right now?
Yeah, you just don't know. I have, yeah.
I know.
It's the new technology. You can't even see their like.
Are you one of those cyborgs that got their earbuds implanted in their head?
Yes, like you can't even.
I've been wanting to meet one of you.
Exactly.
Oh my God! Wait, do you have a heart too?
No, it's actually a mechanic heart. No, I'm kidding.
That's good. I was gonna have to start walking mechanically in the other direction.
Oh man.
Can you do the robot?
Maybe not.
All right. As you can see, we can flirt for hours and hours. But thank you very much for demonstrating that. Let's review what I did there. The real important part of that technique was that there were two things. If you've watched the Fearless stuff before, you remember the pausing and buffering where I would just stop and I'd be like, interesting, and just let her continue to fill the gap. So when I asked her this question, I said, singing, interesting. And she just kept talking, right? And it's all in how you look at her, and it's all in your body language, right? Like, interesting, huh? And then so she kept talking a little bit and helped her on a little bit. But when we really got to the point where you were talking about like your passion about singing and all that stuff, you noticed that again, for about half the time I was looking directly in her eye and like really focused, even with a little tilt of the head. And the other half of the time I'm like looking down, just trying to, well, who knows what I was thinking in that moment. Was I bored with you? Were you like just running on and on and on? But what's funny is when you put somebody in a situation like that, unless they're like an extremely socially calibrated person, every now and then you do this to a person, and this is usually like I've never had this happen to a girl. I had this happen to a personal trainer one time. I was doing it to him and he was like super alpha guy, and I like looked at him, he's like, what are you looking at, man? Like, why aren't you paying attention to me? I'm your trainer. And so like every now and then you'll get somebody who's really socially calibrated and they'll like pick up on this, but 99% of the time, like people can't help but respond and feel bad and be like, oh, like, am I losing him? I better keep talking and keep talking. So, that's that. Now, in terms of what followed on, you notice that I also
had a really good response when she came back, because I was listening to what she was saying, and I was just kind of taking it in, and I was really visualizing her like singing and connecting with people and being touched and all that. Picked up on the potential for sexual cues, but one of the important things about the girlfriend activation system is that you also want to be careful about when you introduce sexuality. So that's something that we'll talk about in the next video. But you could even just follow up with, you don't even have to like be like, oh yeah, I totally relate to that, I get where you're coming from, all that. You could just follow up with something as simple as like, wow, like I never would have guessed that about you. That's really interesting. I totally had you pegged as like the modern dancing type. And she'd say, why is that? Be like, I don't know, you just seem, like you got some soul in ya. Yeah, exactly. So you don't have to come back with like the most thoughtful answer. You could just come back with something like, never would have guessed that about you. And then eventually she will probably reciprocally ask you a question. I mean, in our case, we went on and we just flirted for a while. But other times when you do this, you'll find, most of the time when you do this, you'll find that the girl will respond like, well, how about you? What would you do? And then you answer with whatever you want. In my case, it's computer graphics. So what does this do? Let's again just remind ourselves why this is important, because we don't want to get hung up on the words. We want to get hung up on the eye contact and the pausing and the selective attention and the effect that it has. Basically what it does is it shows a girl that you are not needy. When you're talking to her, you're not like intensely focused, and you're also not like clutched up. You're just looking at her, and then you're kind of looking away, like you could give a shit whether you're in the conversation or not. She's wondering, and then you're back in and you're really intent. And all this does is it anchors in a girl's mind that you are very, very different. She's like, wow, like this guy's not afraid of me, because in fact he might be kind of bored, but wait, when he looks at me, like wow, like the way it makes me feel, he's so engaged. And so it makes this really strong impression of that moment, and she will be thinking about this moment for the next 3, 4, 5 days. And this is something that you do in the impression phase of meeting a girl. It's when you're making a first impression. As I think I mentioned to you already, you don't have to do a whole lot in the first impression phase. You just have to get a few things right, and this is one of them. So I hope you found this helpful. Thank you again, Marina. Hopefully we'll be seeing you in a few days.
Thank you.
Thanks guys, we'll catch you back in the other room.
It's so easy, right? Selective attention, like so many of the things you're going to learn in the girlfriend activation system, it's one of those do more with less things. You just don't have to put a lot of work in. And she just starts thinking about you in this way that ties right in to the story she tells herself about the guy she's supposed to fall in love with. So go out and use it. You can use it on a girl who you already know. You can use it on a girl who you've never met before. But I'd love to hear how it works for you. You can report in the comments, or you can shoot me an email. I think at this point we should probably get to wrapping up. This video has gone on for a little bit of time, but I do have to tell you how you can get a free copy of the program. Very simply, just leave a comment below. And I'm going to pick out one of the comments that have been left, and the person who left that comment is going to win a free copy of the program when it gets released. So I want it to be a halfway decent comment too. Don't just be like, hey, or that was cool. Put some thought into it. I really wanted to create some great content for you here, and I hope that you'll reciprocate as well. I hope that you'll put some thought into your comment. A few suggestions. You can tell me about your biggest sticking point, the thing that's getting in the way of you having a girlfriend right now. You can tell me about a time that you screwed up in the past and why you're not going to do that ever again. You can tell me about a girl in your life right now who you're really excited about making into a girlfriend. I'd love to hear about that one, because I know some of you are going to be getting this program. You're going to be making those girls into girlfriends. Or you can just tell me about something you learned about here today. Selective attention, or the shocking discovery of literotica. I'd love to hear any and all of those. And again, leave one of those. The chances are pretty good that you will end up with a free copy of the program. So that's it for now. In the next video, I'm going to reveal the system, and I'm also going to demonstrate another technique. We're going to see what you guys have to say here and what your biggest sticking points are, and based on what those are, I'll pull a concept from the program and I'll demonstrate that too. So thanks again. Needless to say, I'm just so excited about this. I can't wait for you guys to leave your comments here, and I can't wait for the next video. Talk to you then.